Hello, everyone, and welcome once again to the Wednesday night live stream. I am your host, Mike Ursery, aka the Liberty Ginger, and with me, Amos, the annoyed monarch, and our resident meme lord, Michael Leoncello. Gentlemen, how are we doing?
Doing good. Glad to be here.
Yeah, doing good. Sorry, my mic was muted.
Oh, no worries. All right, I am glad to be back. If you probably didn't notice, but if you did happen to notice, I was gone for about a month or so. I got pretty busy with work and wasn't able to host on Wednesday nights. Up, here comes Paleo. What's going on?
Hey, what's happening? Can you hear me?
We can hear you loud and clear.
All right, great.
As I was saying, I've been gone for about a month or so. I wasn't able to host on Wednesday nights because I was dealing with work, but I'm here tonight. I'm glad to be here. So let's go ahead and do this. So we're going to talk about Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. Now, first of all, let me just say that we don't want to talk about her, but because she's always in the news for something. Usually it's because she says something stupid or because she does something. And this time it's because she allegedly did something. I'm sure you've been keeping up with the news and you saw about what's going on with her chief of staff moved like $880 from a political action committee to a company that he started. Did you all see that?
I kind of read, like shortly something about it, and it's kind of funny because a couple of weeks ago she was just talking about corruption with money in front of everyone. So, kind of ironic that this comes to surface right after that.
Yeah, she was sitting in on a committee meeting, and she was talking about misuse campaign funds, and she was talking about dark money, and she kind of used this to build an argument against Trump. But
Right.
It looks like could this be rules are for thee, not for me? Is she just another run-of-the-mill politician?
See, I don't know. I would say so. If they go to the Democrat Party system, I would say yes.
I don't know
Okay.
that I'm willing. I don't know that I'm willing to say that she's politically savvy enough to have that foreknowledge to make that look legit to the FEC before her election. So I'm going to run with ignorance. And I'm muted again. Just a sec.
Well, the thing I understand is so her chief of staff did this, and I don't know how to say his name. I'm not even going to try to say it, but apparently he's this multimillionaire. I guess he made millions working in tech, and he's also pretty politically active. He supported Bernie Sanders in 2016, and he also started these. I think one of them was called a New Congress LLC, and he had this other LLC as well. So during her campaign, he's moving all this money from one of her political action committees to his company. And why wouldn't she ask him why he's doing that?
Because
Unless
she might know about it. Yeah.
That's what I was about to say. Unless she knew about it and was going along with it.
Wasn't she on that whole committee basically questioning someone about the differences between corrupt political funding in congressional runs versus presidential runs?
I did not watch the entire video. I saw a snippet of it.
But you guys remember that whole thing, how
Yeah.
she was basically making a fool of herself, trying to make this whole hypothetical situation to point out how Trump can basically get away with more dark money, if you so to speak, versus a congressional candidate. And it pretty much just kind of blew up in her face, since the guy she was questioning kind of corrected her on a lot of nuance in the issue. But here she is. And here she is now caught in this thing where it's very possible that she knew full well what was going on.
I think her exact words were, "Well, since I've been here, I've realized I can do bad stuff. So doesn't that mean the president can do more bad stuff?" I'm not even exaggerating. She actually said bad stuff.
Bad stuff.
Bad stuff.
Donald Trump is doing bad stuff. Oh man, she's made a fool of herself so many times. I don't know. But apparently this is not the only time she's not the only time that she's looked hypocritical, because you know how she's brought in this Green New Deal and she's all about climate change, but then you also see that she spent thousands upon thousands on Uber and Lyft rides. So
yeah,
more than just that.
The Greenpeace guy actually called her out, and the internet went ablaze over that one.
Yeah, but then she made a statement about going to the grocery store and getting 10 plastic bags and throwing them away instead of, bringing recyclable bags, reusable bags to the grocery store, or recycling the plastic bags. She's I hate to say this, but she's kind of a moron.
Yeah.
She advertises her stupidity and virtue signaling for the environment, and it's like, you're not helping your case here.
Do you guys hear about her burgers comment?
No.
People shouldn't be eating burgers to help save the planet, which has been a long trope for a lot of like vegan, PETA kind of global warming activists. And there was a photo taken of her in public with one of her staffers eating burgers at a restaurant.
Well, he was eating a burger, but I'm unsure what she was eating. But you guys don't love vegans.
Still, I mean, if it's one of her top staff people, shouldn't they also be like really into what she's selling?
Well, they have to eat the burgers. That way they kill the cows and keep them from farting.
But you also can't eat the cows because killing animals also contributes to global warming. So what do?
We got to make the cows go extinct somehow.
Well, but I mean, in the process of making the cows to be edible, activists claim it produces so much more greenhouse gas versus the greenhouse gas a cow produces in its lifetime, which is worse,
Well, here's the question for them. That once they solve the cow fart problem and cows are no longer farting, how are they going to stop the volcanoes? That's a bit more CO2, and it's a bit.
You know what you do?
But if we stop the CO2, then that means we starve the plants. So basically, AOC is anti-plant, and I can't stand for that. I stand.
Well, do you take? So what do you do? Do you just take all the cows and use them to plug up volcanoes?
Well, what we could do.
That's an idea.
What we could do is we could get those. They're like those ferns that you hang from the ceiling. Why don't we just attach one to each of the cows' tails? So that way they're instantly feeding the ferns.
See,
wait,
libertarian.
This is my campaign.
Real problems
Farts
here.
for ferns.
I'd like to direct everyone's attention to the documentary. Crap! What the hell was it? Damn it! I forgot the name of the movie.
Borat was a great documentary. I love that one.
I would like to direct everyone to the documentary that Tom Hanks made, Joe and the Volcano. That's how we solve this.
Joe versus the volcano. Oh, Joe versus. I haven't seen that in years. Yeah. It's been actually decades.
Right,
to be honest with you.
And also, my favorite documentary of all time had to be "This Is Spinal Tap." I love
that. Another great one. I'm going to propose a question to all of you, though. Yeah, I have a question for all of you. So you know how AOC has been saying all these things, like she was talking about people who were criticizing her Green New Deal, and then she was saying that if if you think you have a better, then you try it until then. And she said that on a few occasions, I'm in charge. She's called the face of the new Democratic Party. She might be gaining power. And you've also seen news about how moderate Democrats are unhappy with her because you know, she kind of views them as an enemy, trying to pass her agenda. Do you wonder if maybe some higher ranking Democrats might have floated this stuff about the dark money to the media and then it became a story?
I mean, maybe. I doubt that. She probably has the other Democrats. But I will say something. I forget which politician it was, but it was the same week that she sent out the tweet and made all those comments about how she's the boss. There was another politician who was being questioned by a bunch of, high schoolers, 16, 17-year-olds.
Senator Feinstein.
That was Feinstein.
Feinstein, thank you.
Feinstein.
So, she's basically saying the same thing as her, but a lot more subtly, and while being approached by people asking the question. And, she's getting blown up all over the internet as, like, the Wicked Witch of the West, while AOC is being praised for going on a Twitter tirade saying the same exact thing, but in a more tyrannical way. But on the opposite end on the issue.
Well, Feinstein was saying, hey, the issue's not practical. We've got to find some other way of doing it. Not defending her statement, just saying what she's saying. And then, and she realized that she was being used for political purposes. Imagine that. Then it became kind of a meme, and I can't really blame, how she reacted. But I hate the idea of defending Dianne Feinstein. But
I'm not a fan of her either. But it's like people approach you and ask you a question, you're gonna respond to it. So made her out to be a monster about it, and then meanwhile AOC saying the same exact thing, just like completely on Twitter on the other side of it, and people are praising her.
Yeah,
a little bit of a double standard.
I don't know. So supposedly what she's looking at, if what she is doing is illegal, what she's looking at is paying fines and possibly prison time. And since it's $885,000, I'm pretty sure that. What was that? Did y'all hear that? It sounded like a hum.
Guarantee it was Otter.
No, I heard it too. Sounded like a motorcycle or something in the background for somebody.
Yeah. Anyway, since it's in the amount of $885,000, prison time would definitely be on the table here because it's so much money. And because they didn't disclose, I guess all they disclosed, all the expenditures was like strategic consulting, whatever that is. But they really didn't disclose exactly what that money was used for. So they don't know if it went into someone's pocket or if it actually went towards campaign activities.
Well, from my understanding, the money went to this guy's imaginary company.
Yeah.
Which just another way of saying he pocketed the money.
Right. But they had expenditures down on called strategic consulting. So that money actually went towards something. Even if it was in his pocket, it went in his pocket as strategic consulting.
It wasn't one of the great things about her campaign supposed to be that she did it on a shoestring budget because, she was that thrifty barista or whatever fighting the
bartender. Yeah.
Bartender fighting the not the swamp, but the guy that was in there before.
Well, that's why it was a shoestring budget, because she kept taking money from it.
Nice.
Have you considered this, though? Let's be realistic here for a second. By her being as outrageous as she is, and by her being in the media as much as she is, she's kind of insulated herself from any type of prosecution, because if the Republicans go after her, then it becomes, oh, they're targeting her, and they're just anti-Democrat. If the Democrats decide, oh, well, we want to make sure that she gets prosecuted for this, then it becomes, well, she was too extreme for them, and she's kind of protected herself by playing the idiot role and by being in the media so much. I mean, if you really think about it, once you get to that level within the political structure of this country, you don't go to jail. It's just not going to happen. The worst I can see happening is she'll get a fine, and that'll be the end of it. I really don't see any jail time for this, although the average person walking down the street, if they were to, steal campaign money, they would end up in jail, but I don't think it's going to happen with her.
That depends. It depends on Democrat Party leadership, I think.
I think the only way leadership will get involved in this is that if Nancy Pelosi saw her as an actual threat to taking over the speakership, if that's even a word.
The smart move would be
Pelosi's scary.
Yeah.
Yes.
Sorry for interrupting. The smart move, I believe, if the Democrats want to get rid of her, will be not just to put in for an FEC complaint or champion its investigation, but to actually go into because they control the House, they can have the House Ethics Committee investigate her, and then it looks like an internal beef. In order to have the Republicans be blamed for it, there would have to be departments that the Republicans controlled instead of the House Ethics Committee. The FEC might be one of those places to do that, but the only way their narrative works is if that's the only agency investigating
her. Okay. Well, on top of that, also, apparently,
to their party,
the Daily Wire put this out 3 days ago, but I didn't see it until tonight. Rashida Tlaib, who is a Democrat, and I don't know if she identifies as a Democratic socialist, but I believe she is pretty far left. Apparently, the FEC is filing a complaint against her as well, saying that she paid herself $17,000 fee, which you cannot do. So now you have 2 Democrats in Congress with FEC complaints.
Right.
So if
but
you
the
have
difference,
you definitely have to act.
Right, but the difference though is that you've got Rashid as being labeled as an anti-Semite, and that's something that you really can't have within this government, because basically the U.S. government is so pro-Israel that you can't say boo or anything against Israel. So I don't think that AOC is in the same category as her.
I don't know.
Wait, do we have 2 anti-Semites that have been two Democrats saying anti-Semites in Congress? Ilhan Omar and then Tlaib.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just the one.
There's probably a lot more than that.
Well, yeah, but
there probably is, but there's only been one that's been vocal about it.
I just thought Omar had done so as well. I'm like, wait, have I missed?
Yeah, something? That's it, Omar.
From the great state of Minnesota, by the way. I'm just so proud of that.
Yeah, well, at least you don't have Florida, man.
Hey.
All right,
we had Michelle Bachmann, and now we got this. Like, really?
You also have Amy Klobuchar, the Ice Queen, but we have a comment here in the live chat. I don't know what this means. It's from someone Conac808. AOL attack of liberals. AOC's AOL reveals source of scam regarding dark money. It was not. I don't even know what that means. He just dropped another, or they just dropped another comment. So please tell us what you mean by that, because I don't know what that means.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah. I heard AOL and AOC.
I don't. What, America Online? That's the only AOL that I.
That's her internet plan. She's got a bunch of free AOL trials.
I need some more coasters.
Keep net neutrality going for a good solid 3 months for everyone.
Hey, I just bought a house. I need some more floppy disks and CDs for coasters.
Yeah, what's the deal with this them trying to resurgence of the net neutrality nonsense? I mean, do they
just signaling?
Do they just not have anything better to do?
They want to prevent the mass slaughter that caused by the last time when it failed, because we all died from that. In the middle of dying from dysentery while playing Oregon Trail, I was dying from lack of net neutrality.
Yeah, actually, I saw that on the Facebook live feed today, and I went into the comment section. I said I can't see the video because I only have Ron's membership.
Jeez.
I don't know why they're bringing back net. I can't talk. Net neutrality. The only thing I can think of is that they're just virtue signaling. They just want to make it look like they're actually doing stuff and trying to get stuff done. I don't see a point in this, but this is what they want to do, and this is what our tax dollars are paying for. Virtue signaling.
Yeah, it's just.
And also investigation.
It's just another level of control, and it's just unbelievable. They lose a little bit of control over our lives, and all of a sudden they want it back, and they want even more. But you know what? Getting back to AOC for a second, I want people to really think for a minute that she is trying to draft something into law. She's trying to basically have some type of control over the average person's life, and she is of below average intelligence. So just think about who you're voting for the next time that you vote. These are the people that you're putting in charge.
Well, that thing will never pass. My God, the overreach in that. The overreach in all of that is amazing.
AOC,
yeah, but it wouldn't be the first time.
AOC is the picture of why you don't choose just any box for kicking out the incumbent. I'm all for getting rid of people that have been in there, terms measured in decades. But, this is what you're, when you just choose any box, this is what you end up with.
Well, no, it is. New York has the same chance of election that San Diego has of winning the baseball game.
Aren't you funny?
Sorry, I had to.
Your pitchers take steroids. Anyway,
window.
Yeah,
Are we talking sports ball now?
I think so.
Yeah, we are. Slightly. But the overreach in that thing, like do away with all private insurance completely and instill Medicare for all. Where they're talking about basically the federal government jobs and the federal government paying whatever living wage is supposed to be. It keeps changing. That is, I never thought I would actually say, here we are. remodel every single building?
Well, didn't they estimate that would cost the average American something like $100,000 if we went forward with the Green New Deal?
I think like $65,000 annually.
It was something insane. They basically wanted to retrofit every existing building in the country, which is just insane, and set new standards for all of new construction. Then they're looking at basically getting rid of all fossil fuels. Just the pure insanity of this is basically they're looking at restarting the entire civilization of the United States and reworking everything from ground up. But if you're looking to save the planet, just changing this country isn't going to do it. So it's just kind of insane.
Yeah.
But hey, that's just me thinking about the insanity of it. I'm sure other people have thought about the insanity of it as well.
She somehow graduated with an economics degree, but doesn't have the ability to look at the numbers of where the most where the highest concentrations of the most polluting industries are, and that's not even on this continent. So
we need to invent technologies that aren't invented yet.
Yeah. I think the Greenpeace guy actually said, if you get rid of fossil fuels, you're going to starve the planet by having to cut down all the trees for all the resources that you're going to need to replace it.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know how accurate it is, but I assume it's pretty accurate if it's, such a prominent guy and no one's called it out yet.
She has an economics degree, but doesn't know the difference between a tax break and a subsidy. Did you guys follow that whole Amazon thing?
I mean, for all we know, it's a gender economics degree.
But, did you all follow the whole thing with Amazon? She was involved in that, and she was part of the reason why Amazon pulled out of putting that second headquarters in Queens. First of all, Queens is not her district. Her district is the Bronx. So I really don't think she had any business meddling in the Queens the Queens district, because she has nothing to do with that. She's there to represent the people in the Bronx, first of all. Second, she has no idea the difference between a tax break and a subsidy, because they were talking about how Amazon was going to get that $3 billion in tax breaks to put that second headquarters, but New York was going to get $25 billion in tax revenue. First of all, that $3 billion did not exist yet. It did not exist because Amazon didn't put the headquarters there, but she was talking about how they were going to take that. She was saying that, well, first of all, she said that they were going to subsidize those jobs. No, they weren't. And then she said, we could take that $3 billion and invest it in our crumbling subways, or whatever it was that she said. She's talking about investing money that does not exist into infrastructure in New York City.
Well, yeah, not only that, but apparently the Amazon headquarters was going to create something like, 25,000 jobs, and jobs paying upwards of over $150,000.
Yes.
And this would have not only would that have brought 25,000 jobs to that area, but you got to think about all the additional jobs that would be created by the peripheral companies that would have popped up around it. They were looking at an increase in the value of the real estate in the area as well. So she basically just cost that area, multiple billions of dollars.
Yeah.
But another thing I wanted to point out is, when on the subject of Amazon, I don't know if you guys saw this in the news, but apparently since Amazon has guaranteed a $15 minimum wage company-wide, they've also had to start cutting hours for employees because they can't afford to pay everybody $15 an hour at their current hourly, stipend. So this $15 minimum wage is just falling apart just about everywhere. Also in New York, I don't know if you guys saw the news on this, but they're having a problem in New York where they've raised their minimum wage up to $15 an hour, and restaurants are laying off people and they're cutting hours because they can't afford to pay their staff $15 an hour. And Reason TV did a video. You can find this on YouTube about how they made it mandatory to pay $15 an hour in car washes a couple of years ago, and I think some half or 3/4 of the car washes in New York shut down because they couldn't afford to do that. So this $15 an hour nonsense is falling apart everywhere it's being implemented, and it's just an absolute disaster. The minimum wage should be zero. I've said this for years, and people should be paid for what a job is worth, not what the government mandates something to be worth. It's worth.
People don't think math be like it do, but it is.
Yeah, they just don't understand. And I don't know if you guys saw this news coming out of New Jersey, but in New Jersey they're looking to tax their millionaires even more, and they think that it's going to raise something like $414 million in extra revenue. But what's going to happen is that if you do a state income tax like that, people are going to leave your state. Just like people are leaving New York State, people are going to start leaving New Jersey as well. So if you look at there's a website, howmoneywalks.com. You look at the interactive map there, you can see where people are leaving, what states they're leaving from, even down to the county level, what county people are leaving, what county they're going to. And you see that people are leaving these high tax states. They're moving to states with little or no personal income tax. And it's happening all over the country. What's really interesting is if you look at the map and you look at California, for example, people are moving right across the border into Nevada and the surrounding states, just on the literally within a few miles of the California border, in order to avoid paying that tax. And the same thing has happened in New York, where people have moved out of New York into New Jersey, and now people are just going to leave New Jersey as well. So when you tax people, they try to gravitate towards places where they aren't going to be taxed as much. And when you try to force companies to pay what they can't afford to pay, what happens is people lose their jobs, or the companies just get up and leave, and you shut down companies. So this whole nonsense that happened with Amazon, where Amazon tried to be politically correct and start paying everyone $15 an hour. I guess AOC didn't see that or appreciate that, and just she honestly, she may have a degree in economics, but I think she probably bought her test answers or copied from one of her fellow students, because she has no clue to what she's talking about. And when you have an area that needs a business to come into it, that needs the jobs, that needs the revenue, you don't shoo them away. It's just pure ignorance to do that. And that alone should keep her from getting reelected. But here's the thing, is that in 2 years, when it's time for her to start campaigning again, then they're going to have a very hard time beating her, because New York is so heavily Democratic, and the Democrats probably won't run anyone against her because she is popular, and they really don't care about how dumb she looks, because she's just one vote out of 435. They can pretty much just tolerate her. And so in that district at this time, quite honestly, there should be a libertarian that should be able to come in there and say, hey, look, I'm not a Republican, I'm not AOC, and I can do better than this. And now's the time for them to start campaigning. And I think that's one district that's really prime for a libertarian candidate to go in and start working the streets, and possibly get an actual libertarian into Congress in 2 years. I think that is possibility.
I don't know about libertarian in the Bronx, but I wanted to go back to what you're getting into about the all too popular tax and the rich scheme. I read an interesting article the other day about the wealth in Florence basically staying where it is in the same families since the 1500s. Now you think about everything that has gone on in northern Italy, Europe, from 1500 to now, and the same people have kept their wealth throughout. So I don't know why people nowadays think that all of a sudden things change, and the wealthy are finally gonna pay what's due to society, because they've always managed to, put money into the Cayman Islands, or, hide their wealth in some way. Like, they became rich for a reason, and they're going to stay rich no matter what. So that plan actually just screws up people more, because, you want the rich people to invest their money in the country.
Right. I've seen where I guess Congress has actually considered doing away with her district. Like they would take her, like parts of her district and merge them with other districts, redistricting. So there's that also. Like there might be some way where they just try to get rid of her.
I mean, that would be the smart thing for the Democratic Party to do, because, I mean, realistically, she's just a complete meme.
But do they want to? And I posit the idea that she's the Sheila Jackson Lee of the North. She's the clown they point to every now and then for a sideshow while they're trying to get something done.
Well, here's the thing. She's dangerous, and I think that they see just how dangerous she can be. I think they see how dangerous her ideas can be. And, there's a struggle within the Democratic Party, because there are some people in the party who are trying to push it further left. The moderates don't want to go that far left, but these new Democrats coming in are trying to push it that way. I almost hit my microphone. They're trying to push it. They're trying to push it further to the left. And I think maybe they see this and they see how, well, first of all, they see how popular she's getting and how powerful she can become. And they see her ideas as insane and dangerous. So I think, yeah, they would, for the sake of the Democratic Party, I think they would want to find a way to get her out.
See, I don't know about that though, because she draws attention to them, and she can be as far left and as insane as she wants to be. So they can propose something that's less insane to say, "Hey, look, we're not crazy like her, but here's something we want to pass," and try to push other things through that normally you would look at and say, "Hey, that's kind of nuts," but then you look at her and say, "Well, that's even worse." So she is kind of a distraction. They can use her as a distraction.
She's also got they've also got something going against them with how a fool can be entertaining. A fool with power is dangerous. A fool with power and popularity, and you're hosed. And she's there. Working against her might backfire, and I don't pretend to know much about the inner workings of the DNC, but I think they've got a line they need to carefully walk if they're going to make that happen.
Yeah, I mean, if she gets to be too powerful and too popular, I mean, look at Trump and the GOP. We all thought Trump was out of his mind, but look where that went.
But at the same time, when Trump rose to political popularity, he was what, 68, and she's what, 26?
29.
29. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's a lot, and as much as I say they're going to get rid of her, like, I think she's going to hold down her district for a long time. So you're talking about a long, long time of AOC, unless like some kind of scandal gets her out of Washington.
Wait till she turns 35.
Oh, God.
Yeah, exactly. 6 years. Wait till she's 35.
Yeah, I don't know though. I don't see her going past maybe one more term after this, because 2020 is a presidential election year. They might not put too much emphasis on getting rid of her then, but 2022, I just don't see her surviving that election.
When she's 35, she could be Tulsi Gabbard's Joe Biden.
Oof.
Yeah, I don't know, because like she has such a small and very Democrat district, and I don't think anyone is going to get the same kind of popularity from that district that she's going to get, because she's nationally known. you're not going to get a person in that district that's going to be nationally known like her to beat her out.
Yeah.
You don't need to be nationally known to win your district, though. You just need to be known in your district. And
yeah, but it helps. It helps. It definitely helps.
I have to wonder if someone, regardless of party, running against her isn't going to be a page out of Idiocracy, where Not Sure is sitting there debating on something, and everyone else is just looking at him like he's, well, I don't know that I can't use the words in the movie that they used in this live stream, but y'all get where I'm going with that?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
He's the rational one, and they're all looking at him like he's, get a load of this guy, and he's going to be the one sane man in the asylum, and of course he's going to be the, he or she is going to be the one that doesn't get elected because he doesn't represent the constituency of, well, forgive me, but constituency of idiots that will actually vote in that district. How many people voted for her? Like 33,000 or something?
I think it was
too many.
17,000, I think is what it was.
Well, yeah, too many, yes. But
I think it was 17,000.
Right. And there's how many, 10 times that, 20 times that of eligible voters that are available in that district, but the ones that are paying attention will bother to go to the polls will not vote for Mr.
Yeah, but most of those people are probably just completely politically inactive. So,
well, really, there's only like a third of the country who votes. So
yeah.
A third of eligible voters, even not even a third of the country's kids.
Well, yeah,
and especially when it comes to non-presidential elections, it's like most people only go to presidential elections and then they vote for the whole line, of course, but then they're not going to bother to go on the off years.
I really do think that at the very least, the one thing that AOC will teach the DNC is complacency kills. Complacency kills campaigns. The guy she was running against did diddly squat. I mean, between Hillary not going to Wisconsin and whatever other states, and then him, sitting there like, I got this. Yeah. You treat, y'all are the sports ball people. You treat every opponent walking in like they're going to beat you.
Yep. You're right. You're right. You don't look past.
We've learned this lesson in war how many times? I mean, I mean, you go back, get on my history soapbox. You can go all the way back to World War I. Serbia kicked the crap out of Austria-Hungary. If y'all need to go check out the Great War if you haven't on YouTube. Anyway, but yeah, Serbia kicked the crap out of Austria-Hungary. Austria-Hungary was considered a juggernaut at the time. So, we can draw dozens of lessons in history, not just politics and this sort of thing.
Okay. We have a little bit of time left, so let's go ahead and switch over to a politician that we do like talking about. I'm sure you all saw Rand Paul was in the news a couple of days ago. He is likely going to be the deciding vote in the Senate to halt President Trump's national emergency. And the fact that you have a Republican who is putting principle over party is very refreshing, but at the same time, you expect this from Rand Paul.
Yeah.
But still, it's very refreshing.
Yep.
Because using a national emergency just to put up a wall that's not going to fix a problem is ridiculous.
Well, here's the thing. Whatever power they give Trump, they can expect the next president to have that same type of power.
Oh, of course.
So that's what they need to consider whenever you give the president more power, and the president should actually have less and less power. I prefer the president of the United States to be more like the Queen of England, more of a figurehead and not much real power behind the position.
I agree.
This country has had a habit of pushing more and more power up the pyramid, for lack of a better description, where the people were always supposed to be the base and that sort of thing, and then the state legislatures, et cetera, et cetera. And it's been a thing since, you can go back to Jefferson.
Woodrow Wilson.
Yeah, you can go Wilson, you can go the Civil War, you can go all the way back to Andrew Jackson. You can go back to Jefferson and Madison. The executive has been growing slower, had been growing slower at the time, and then circa Wilson, circa Lincoln, it just kept expanding. And in the 20th century, the executive has just ballooned and ballooned and ballooned, and Congress has willingly given that power to the executive branch because they don't want to act. They're not willing. They don't have the ability to come to consensus, and the American people will sit there and say, we want action regardless of its tyrannical foundations. We want action because we're petulant children.
Well, see, this is where...
Accepting
this is...
The way
this is where term limits come into play. If you don't have politicians that are worried about keeping their jobs and worried about staying in office for the rest of their lives, that are there for a set amount of time, then they will actually do things, and they won't have this fear of, oh, well, I can't do this because I won't get reelected. They'll actually act upon whatever they believe that needs to get done. So this is why I think we need term limits.
I would argue that term limits are a Band-Aid. What we need is and I realize this is a pipe dream, but we need an engaged citizenry. If we had an engaged an engaged citizenry, we wouldn't need term limits, because we would have people that would be actively paying attention to those we send to represent us. You know, if we are essentially the client who never shows up to court, just keeps sending a lawyer, and then we wake up to find ourselves in jail. You know, if that makes any sense. We don't engage with the people that we supposedly send to represent us, and then we just get pissed off at them. You know, the term limits just make it to where we don't have to pay as much attention as well. It's the Band-Aid to make sure that we can still pay attention to the TV instead of. And I'm not like.
See, this is where I'm going to disagree with you. This is where I'm going to disagree with you here. This is why I think that term limits would make things better in this respect, because when you have these people that are in office for, in some cases, 40 or 50 years, then people just assume, well, one, why even bother vote? The same guy's going to win. Or, well, I'm just going to vote for this guy because this is who I've always voted for. Now, if you're turning that seat over every second election, then you, as a voter, you actually have to engage in the process at that point to say, well, there's nobody in that seat come next November, so I have to vote for somebody. Who should I vote for? And so you'll have people that will actually have to get more engaged at that point.
What if? Here's the question. What if you have proper politicians who come into power who just don't have enough time because of your term limits?
See, there wouldn't be any long-term government project like that anyway.
So, but enough time for what? You write a bill, you try to get it passed, and that's pretty much what you do.
So we institute term limits, and then we actually get a libertarian in, and then that's the last libertarian we'll ever see.
Why would
that be? Maybe
because we don't have a patient and engaged citizenry.
Yeah.
See, this is the way I look at it.
Look at it this way though. You put limits on, and then you risk losing out on possibly good politics. The off chance we get a good one in there. Versus trusting in the Otter is saying, the engaged citizenry of putting in the right people over time.
Well, yeah, but look at it this way though. Let's say that, and when I say term limits, this is the way I look at it. I think that Congress needs to change from 2 years to 4 years and have 2 terms and be done with it. Because 2 years, they're just campaigning way too much. Let's say, for instance, that we elect from our Sarcasm and Liberty district Amos as our representative for.
Yay!
We'll nominate you, and you get elected, and you're in office for your 2-term limit. Now, your term is coming to an end, and let's say that in order to fill your spot, Otter decides to run. Now, if you are endorsing Otter and you're saying, hey, this guy is going to do the pick up where I left off, he's going to do a great job, you should vote for him, that endorsement should be able to carry him with the same people that voted for you. And that's why these politicians endorse other politicians, is because the people that trusted them and that voted for them are going to turn around and say, hey, well, I trusted him and he trusts this guy, so let me go ahead and vote for him too. That's why these politicians give these endorsements, because they know that they gather a following while they're in office, and their following will most times follow their lead and go the way that they tell them to go. And so if you are getting ready to end your term and you're endorsing,
however, because
Otter more than likely is going to get most of your voters.
Yeah.
You just argued against part of your.
Yeah. I mean, here's the thing. It's like, longevity in this actually builds trust. So it's like, if you have to look for like a new name, even though you had the perfect candidate for your district that's completely willing to run again, it's like, oh, well, I got to pick a new person now and, learn about completely different people now.
Yeah, but we do that with the president.
People really pay attention to it as it is, and never mind when we're gonna introduce all these new people.
Exactly. You argued against part of your support by having someone be endorsed. You're between the endorsement.
Not really.
Well, between the endorsement and how half of the electorate who participates blindly checks their preferred R or D box anyway, regardless of the name next to it.
Yeah.
Well, here's the thing. Let's look at this realistically for a minute. When you vote for in an election, you're voting for one representative in your district, you're voting for one senator, and you're voting for president. That's not going to change. You're still going to vote for those same 3 things. So whether the person that's on the ballot is an incumbent or they're a newcomer really doesn't make much of a difference, because like you said, there are certain people that are just going to go ahead and vote straight down party line, and you can't do anything about that. And then you're going to have people that are going to be more informed and more engaged. Now, what would make things even better if you got rid of the parties on the ticket altogether and you only had the person's name there?
Yeah, but I mean,
I think the ballot should get rid of the R's and D's and L's and I's and just have nothing but, your candidate.
But if the person's really that much of a problem, people should just vote him out. It's like you can't really fight the system, because like when you talk about term limits, that also means term limits for people that you like Rand Paul. Like if Rand Paul could only be in Congress for another year, and then I'd be like, oh crap.
But then,
like, who's gonna filibuster everything that completely?
Yeah, but then let's say there's a president that you like, and we want the same president for the next.
Let's not get carried away.
Year. Why not that?
If a president were really that great, let's say George Washington, he would step down on his own, which is what he did.
Yeah. I would. But
it's like it works for presidents, because presidents are that much more stressful. It's more of a thing like you can only handle 8 years, as opposed to you should only be in power for 8 years.
Tell that to FDR.
Exactly.
Yeah. I would support your term limit idea. I mean, just because it's better than what we have. I mean, largely for that reason. But I would also want a Monty Brewster option to go along with it. Yes. I want the above. I want none of the above to be a part of every election ballot, from dog catcher to president.
Are you saying we just abolish government?
Heavens no. Perish the thought.
Yeah, see, I'm still of the opinion that we shrink government until it's gone.
Yeah, there's a meme. I don't know how Mike feels about this cheeky meme, but our aim is to shrink government to the size that we can drown in a bathtub.
You all just hate roads. That's all it is. You hate government, therefore you hate roads.
Yep.
I don't know why roads
our government, our overblown government power problem in the U.S. is similar to our obesity problem. What is it? 1 in 3 people are technically obese. It's like 1 in 3 politicians is technically completely corrupt or something.
Oh, way more than that.
Well, I think we hit a 40% obesity rate in this country now.
But then if you look, I think like 70% of people are considered overweight, and it's like, so that you could say 70% of Congress is somewhat corrupt in some sense.
Well, yeah, I mean, can't really dispute that.
Just a few bad apples.
So it's our obesity problem.
Just a few bad apples.
And,
That's probably government. Just a few bad apples.
How many people have gone into office for 170? We spend millions of dollars on each district for $174,000 job, and inside of a decade, regardless of win or lose after that 10 years, how many of them are worth 7 figures?
By the way, how many? Yeah, I was gonna also say you gotta understand too. After whether they win or lose, I think they get to keep part of their campaign funds.
Yeah.
So so for whatever Hillary raised during her presidential run, she keeps a portion of whatever didn't.
Didn't she raise over $1 billion?
Something like that.
$1 billion?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what the exact numbers are with what you get to keep, but I know you get to keep something. So running for president can be a lucrative.
If that's the case, I'm going to be the next Austin Peterson with more Southern twang. Otter 2020.
I could go for that, but doesn't Hillary spend that money now on Depends?
Probably.
And backbreaker.
Sure she does. I'm pretty sure she does. Maybe next week we'll talk about Hillary if she reappears in the news, but probably not.
She said she wasn't going to run, but
well, Maggie Haberman or the New York Times reported this morning that she hasn't completely shut the door on that. So
I saw a parody article. It says Hillary Clinton rules out 2020 run, but says I'm not done suiciding fuckers though.
Yeah. But we have reached the end of our live stream for this week. Who knows what we'll talk about next week? We kind of wait until the day of to choose our topics because so much happens between Monday and Wednesday.
It's hard to do this whenever the Onion is running out of ideas for comedy because reality
is becoming the Onion. I know.
Yes.
But to everyone who watched, thank you so much for watching. If you like this, please hit the subscribe button if you haven't done that already. Sarcasm and Liberty, you can find us on different social media platforms. We're on Facebook. We're on Instagram. Search Sarcasm Liberty and you'll find us. We're on Twitter at Sarcasm_Liberty. We will see you all again next week. Thank you so much for watching. Have a good night.